Hiya, hiya to the tribes on Turtle Island, North America. Started something somebody calls. Okay, this is TAIFA World Ministry of Education. Not missing any opportunity to educate, instruct, and inform. We're not a church, we're more of a community. And we can't say woke because they changed the meaning of the word. Now, woke means sleep. It means your opinion the only one that matters. So let's say we're not sleeping. We're not gonna say woke. Well, I don't even know what that means anymore. And that's the thing. Words are changed all the time. Scratch that. Words are not changed. The definitions of the words are changed. I remember when gay means somebody who was happy, who liked to have fun. Now what does it mean? I remember when abortion meant the unlawful killing of babies. And all abortions have to be unlawful because even a child from rape, he has a right to be here. What makes you God that you can kill somebody because of how they got here? You didn't bring them here, so how can you take them away? And that's been renamed. Now it's called Women Health. Wow, what do they call it? It's something to do with women. Oh, reproductive rights. Nobody's saying you can't reproduce. Nobody's saying you cannot reproduce. Nobody's saying you cannot reproduce. But if you choose to reproduce, be responsible. Don't bring a child that is not wanted because you want to have fun and actually go against the way your religion teaches you to do. When you're intimate with someone, you're supposed to be married. I know people don't do that today. I know it's common to have girlfriends and boyfriends for life and never get married. It's common. It's normalized. But is it right? It is according to the laws and principles of creation. Even animals reproduce together. Most species stay together and take care of their children. Can you think of anything in nature? Anything in nature, any being in nature deciding the wonderful gift of life and they say no, we don't want it. We do not want this life. Life is the gift of the one who's coming in. You didn't create that. You may have created in the physical by mating with your partner, but what goes into making that baby a whole being, you had nothing to do with that. And what really is frustrates me, and the reason why I'm doing this audio, because when they come to the tribal people, the so-called black people, melanated people, when they want to get a point across to us, they choose the most ignorant and dumbest ones, the ones who have no clue what's going on. I saw a so-called black woman come on TV, and I can say that so-called black because they call me so-called black, and that's why we got a black screen. So don't tell me what I can and cannot say. She came on and was talking about reproductive rights. She came on and started talking about reproductive rights. Our children have been murdered through this process of abortion. Hundreds of millions. Well, at least I think they said 95 million since the 1970s or 60s. Whenever Roe vs. Wade came up, this is targeting our community. That's who it's targeting. Why everybody want to lie about it? They've been at war with the melanated community, the Moors, the Indians. All the name they give us now is Black, African American. They've been at war with us ever since we've been here. Things haven't changed. You've changed because you don't even know you're at war. But this is a spiritual war. It's not a physical. It is physical, but all that's gonna be taken care of. And I ain't talking about the Bible because I don't believe in that. I'm talking about the higher powers. Now, when I say higher powers, you take that what you want it to mean. It could mean aliens, beings who live out there in the sky, or it could mean a higher power in yourself that crystallizes into one, which they call the Christ. Hey, what's going on? People coming in. Oh, hey. Sakuro Suki. Where are you from? That's an interesting name. Sound like an Indian name. So the purpose of this video, audio, again, is to wake up my community, so-called black people. First off, to show you you're not black. Do you look like this screen? Do you look like this screen? No, you don't. Do you know anybody who look like this screen? No. Do you believe you made an image of God? Whoever you believe him to be. Okay. Is God black? Would you call him black? Well, why you call yourself black? That's part of the problem. You're calling yourself a slave because these are slave terms. Remember now, as a slave, you had no descendants. You were separated from your roots. They say. Now, we're gonna talk about who the real slaves were. But when they talk about slavery, they talk about someone who's cast out of society, no past, no descendants. So they're not really have the rights of a human being to be respected as a human being. Remember the case of Dred Scott decision? He was fighting to be free up north, which was in a non-slave state. And he told them he ain't had no rights that they had to recognize. Why was that? Why did this man who called himself black had no rights that they could recognize? Because that name identifies you as their property. When you carry the name identifying yourself as black, Negro, colored, you give up your rights being a human being, meaning a name of your national name of your ancestry. You got to have for you to be considered a human being, you got to have ancestors, because that's what the people respecting, your ancestry. So if you don't know who your ancestry is, you got a problem. But there's no excuse for not knowing because you can get books on Indians, the area where your grandparents grew up at. You can find out what your tribe is. You can learn all about your tribe, or if you can trace your ancestry to the Moors. You know that's something that's been hidden. The knowledge of the Moors. The Moors, some of them over here they call themselves Moorish Americans. But just when they start teaching you in the schools about 1492, that's the history starts when Columbus came here. Why don't they go back before 1492? I'll tell you why. Because 1492 was the fall of your nation, your empire. So everything you did 1,000 years earlier, all the civilization you brought to Europe, to the world, all the science, technology, that's been wiped out. And whitewash. They say they did all this. Make you a shrine, like you something that in a museum or somewhere. That's what the Shriners are. They're wearing the fez of the Moors, the ones who I'm speaking of. But if you notice, they have names written on their fezzes, corporate names, names of their owners. So that shows they're not the original people who wear the fezzes. Because the people who wear the fezzes, they don't need no name. They're free. They don't need no name written on their fezzes, identifying who owns that organization, their organization. So they're taking our fezzes off our heads and they put them on their own, saying they're the Moors. But George Washington predicted this. George Washington said in a challenge, it's called a 200-year challenge, that if you take the fezzes off the Moors and the turbans, because we wore turbans as well, and you take the sandals off their feet, and you take a blood oath, a oath swearing the death of yourself. He's speaking of the white folks, so called. If they took a religious oath under penalty of death, not to teach the Moorish children who they are, not to teach the Moorish children their ancestry, not to teach the Moorish children where they descended from. Then in just 200 years, they would themselves call themselves black, Negro, and colored. And that's what happened. That's why no one can really teach you. They took a blood oath not to allow that to happen. That's the big secret. Okay, I don't think I got the right audience in here. I know I don't have the right audience in here, so let me come back in. Maybe I can find my people. All right. Greetings, everyone. And for those who hear this later, the tribes, I greet you, Haya Haya, Oseo, and Assalamu Alaikum.